Hi, in this video I'll show you how you can get started with the Figaf tool. We will cover how you can install Figaf and how you can connect to cloud integration and SAP PI. There's a lot of different ways where you can run the Figaf tool on. So we have one Java application that can run in multiple different places. It can run on a laptop. We have a server deployment that allow you to run if you have a good server. We have a BTP installation. This is the preferred way because it gives you a lot of advantages when you're working with this. And then we have a cloud. If you just want to try out cloud integration and monitoring, you can install the Figaf tool in our cloud, or you can just go into when you're registering for a trial, select cloud, and then get started. It is by far the fastest if you just want to use cloud integration. In this video, I'll cover two of these topics on a laptop and on BTP, and just show you what it is. And I do think that the best way, both for an evaluation, laptop is probably okay. But if you want to scale it out to your team, then the BTP is the way to go. Running the Figaf tool on your own server just takes a whole lot of more complexity involved. So that's why we recommend BTP. So if you want to get a license, you just go to figaf.com, you sign up with your name and email, or go to the DevOps. Once you get into the license, select the on-prem version, and you will then get a license key in your email. If you do not receive email, write an email or check the spam folder, see what is going on. And obviously, if you want to try the cloud, just select cloud here. If you get lost, we have a help site here that allows you to look at some knowledge base articles that we have created. You can also create tickets in, and we also have a manual. This is a full details with a lot of information about what you need to get started with the tool. So the recommended architecture is something like the following. So we have BTP that runs in your cloud. You as a user will be using the cloud environment here. You will connect to it, and then obviously you'll also work with integration suite. You will connect from the Figaf tool into the BTP accounts. In BTP, you will also use Postgres service, and all of this will connect via cloud connected to the on-premise system. If you install Figaf on a local system, you would not use the cloud connector, but just to connect directly to it. We do have Git. That's a lot of it's more advanced at doing, so they'll probably create a different videos on that later. BTP is a really good place to go. You can start out with the free tier and try it out. One thing we did find is that you should not be spending too much data using the free tiered database because you don't have any backup and it does not have any reliability built into it. So it's okay for evaluations. Once you start using Figaf for real, please use the standard because it has rollback and all these things. And yeah, it requires Cloud Connector for migration also. Server installation, yeah, Docker, Java, it's good. We do have active or OpenID Connect that allows you to authenticate with external provider, and that's a good way to get more details. We normally recommend that you use the server or use an internal system if you're using connection with your PI system where the DevOps capability is really great. That is the main focus of where you want to have the Figaf server running in your on-premise system. So the standalone version of Figaf is really easy to get started on. So let me show you what this takes like, and we can get started with this. So it's a good exercise. So first we will go to figaf.com. You can take the migration edition. We don't really need the migration edition. Try for free. Daniel. Demo. 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 You'll read the agreement here. And now we will select the on-premise. The cloud is a release. You just get an email with an email that you can start up and get started on. You will now receive 2 mails with this. And let me just check that they come. Sometime it takes a little while for them to be processed and sent, and other times there could be some problems with it. So let me just see here. So it should be sent. Okay, so I have received the email with the license key. That's good. We need it a little later. So the first is we want to go here to the installation tender. Here we get access to the main part of this and how to get started. First, let's try the local installation here. Obviously, it is the same. We recommend that you go get Eclipse Adomium or Java 8 from it. And here we can go here. So what you'll do here is you'll go to this one, download this file that is called IoT 2311. It will take a little while for you to install it and download it. Let me just get it here. So right now I have it in a folder here. I will create a new folder called Figaf demo. One thing we do recommend is that you do not run this in if this is in your what's OneDrive and stuff like that. That's not really ideal. So we will just move it to a subfolder called Figaf demo. That is probably the best place. Then you don't have a long path, and because we have sometimes seen that could cause problems. Good. So next up is we need to create this bat file. Open Notepad. I normally use Notepad++ for it. Let me get it over here. So we will just paste this file in here we have, save it into this folder here called Figaf demo. Run.bat. So now we have a run.bat file here. So when we start running this, we will get a bat file up here. We can see that it starts up. If it comes up with a complaint that you do not have a Java version or it is using the wrong Java version, you just need to go here and then find the right Java version. You write C program files, blah blah blah, slash to the location of it, put quotes in the beginning and the end of it, try to run it again, and you'll then see if it works and what is going on here. So let's see if I have Java running here. So we can see you have Java version 8 here, so that's okay. It does take a little while for this to be processed. And normally, obviously, depending on your CPU or what's going on, it can take a little while. Just give it a few minutes. So we can see it started up, and that is all we needed to do. What we then need to do is just to go to the page here. It says, I guess this is also what you have to find in your user here. You will use the user called super user, and password is default. I think it was also stayed here. User default with lowercase. So now we have logged in. We will need to load the license that we received for this. So this is what you have in your email. just put it in, say load license, and now we have connected to this, and we can see that it has received the data about this specific license. So this was all you needed to get started using the tool on your local PC. I want to close this. What you will need to do is go back here to True, press Control C. This will terminate the process and ensure it closes the database. It comes with a built-in database. It is not recommended for productive usage or for large load, but for managing these things, it does make sense. So one of the problems is obviously the virus scanner. It is obviously a requirement, but for Java application, it is specifically hard and it requires a lot of CPU usage. When you have run the tool, you will see that we have created a database in here that contains the data. And once you connect it to the PI system, it obviously becomes a lot more. Okay. So now this is done. Terminate battery up, yes. So that was what we needed to do to get started in the local account. Running in the Windows is much the same way. You have a different way of defining these attributes there. Productive environment. It is not a huge database for at least for a lot of our customers. There are obviously some customers that is leveraging the platform to a different level where the database is bigger. We don't normally recommend Postgres, but we do support the two other databases. And yeah, Postgres from cloud providers also a recommended process because they have the databases, etc. And at least get 8 gigabytes of memory for it. For high volume can increase. Do remember to have an SSL certificate, and there's also guides on how to add that to the setup. And then yeah, connect with your intended identity provider for this. You can also run Docker. We'll not go into details about this. So this was the local installation. We covered that. Now to the BTP. This is a lot more interesting. So the idea here is we will go to this site. So this is the main part of this. First thing we'll go do here is we will go here. We will download this the binaries, the installers, and then we'll install the tool. This would allow us to get access to the tool. So the first thing you need to do is you need to create a BTP account where you have access to this in. So to do that, I will go to my BTP account here. And here I will select the one I just wanted to use here. So we're using this one. You can actually run also in the BTP trial account and deal with it there. So the first thing you want to do is you want to check entitlements, and you want to check that you have Cloud Foundry runtime here. So right now we just have the free one, which seems to be working. But you can also add the paid one, and you need the Postgres also. If you do not have them, you can go in here to configure entitlements, add service plan. And here you should then have Cloud Foundry runtime. We only have this one. So that is okay for us. Sometimes we have seen that you have the entitlements configured in a different way. So here you will need to go to the global account on the service assignment here. So, and from here you would then say, okay, we have these the Postgres service. Postgres is a database service. What are the ones that we would be using here? And then we go to the entitlements. I think this is up here where we can select the different accounts. And if you have a directory of these, you then need to select all the ones in the directory to the required one. And here you'll use the same kind of setup. So now that's done. we can then go back to here the guide. One thing we actually the next thing we need to do is we need to go back here into the service account here. So the Figaf Azure, this is where we'll be running this. We have here the services and subscriptions. Let me just delete these one first. We'll create them shortly. So you can delete these services that obviously have an impact, but we can easily create them. The thing that is normally most difficult to create is the database, because here we require a lot of parameters. So here I can select the Postgres SQL service. We can select standard. I may have a free also, but no free here. But you can use the free one, but just notice that once you've done that, you need to delete it and start over again. And in a lot of cases, that can be okay. So we'll just call it figaf.db. We then select the systems for it, when to start backup, maintenance window, memory. I think this is this. Oh, we can actually select a smaller one. We can select storage. We can unselect the multis here. So this obviously depend on the different Postgres installations that you have on the cloud provider. So we'll create this, which normally takes up to like 10 minutes to create. So there's plenty of room to do these other things that we would be needing as a part of this. Okay, so we will go back here to the list. So the first thing we need to do is need to go down here to download this zip file. So this is a zip file that contains all the different files that is needed to run the Figaf tool. So we'll unzip this. Show more options. Unzip here to BTP users. In here, we have a number of different files that we will be using as a part of this. So the first thing, once we have installed this CF, is that we will go here. Let's just create a new command. Command. And in here, we'll go into our directory. So the first thing we need to do is we need to log on to this API. And to find it, we will go here to the sub account. Here we can see that it is using this API here. So we will go copy this URL here. So we'll go back and say cf login -a and then the login cf login. And then you'll need to log in with your email and password. If you forget it, that's okay. You can also, instead of using this one, you can use --SSO, which will then take you to the service marketplace or to a login page. So what you'll do here is copy this, log in with the default identity provider. Let me just come in. Okay. So now I've logged in. Sometimes there's a bit of a difference between what systems and what roles you have. One thing you obviously need to remember is that you create a space here. So when you have access to the sub account, you need to have access to a space, and you need to be also a member of this space to be able to work with it. So that's just one of the things that is a requirement in that when you're creating the database, it obviously needs to go into this setup. So we can see it is still being created. Okay, so now we can go back here to this guide here. So the first thing we need to know is we need to know the domains that is being used for this. So if we go here, we will press CF domains. This will give us the domain, and here we just copy this one. copy. We then need to go to these files here, and there's two files we need to edit. There's the manifest here. We will just open here Node++. So here, there's not a lot we need to do. If we do not want BTP, we don't need to create these ones. We'll create those later. We are considering changing some of the databases memory sizes, but this should not be a requirement right now. And then you have to update the bars XML. So here you need to put in this CF domains apps in, and you need to come up with a name of your app and demo is the name of it. We need to get the version number here. So the easiest is to open this in your browser. And here you can then see what is the latest BTP version image that we have. So sometimes we will put in some snapshot version. Do not take that one unless it is being informed. But now we just need to copy this tag name here and put it in here into the BTP versions. Logback size, all the other elements is okay. So we press save. And we can now go back to this guide here. So we added that. We are creating the database. That takes a little while for it to create. We will create the security here. So we will create here. And to do that, we simply just go into our folder, press this create security. That will then take this security file and create the user access. So in a few seconds here, we would be able then to see oh, it's not Figaf shop. It is in here where we should be able to see this instance that has been created in the dev space. So we should be able to see it. Once you have done that, what you can actually do is you can go into your users setup here. And here we can see your different users. And I just want to give myself access to this one. So I'll just assign here. We can see we are now getting these different roles. And for now, we'll just use EAT admin. There's a lot of other roles that we can use if you want to, but let's just keep it with that one. So now this is done. And let's see how far the BTP instance is still running. It is still running. Okay, let's also then go to the next step. So let's also do, in the meantime here, there is a connect to PO system using BTP. So to do that, we need to configure the cloud connector to run with this system. And obviously you need to install Cloud Connector, get it started. And let me just find the Cloud Connector setup here. So here we have our Cloud Connector. I can never log in the first attempt. So here I have connected it. It is this one. So we can go in here. This is the Azure one, C20. We can see Figaf on premise. We can see the data here that has been exposed. And you obviously need to add the resources and some path for it. Then you create these two commands here with the BTP command or Cloud Foundry command. This is also really simple to create. So now we can go back to the BTP and we can then check under our connectivities if the Cloud Connector has been enabled. So we can see here the service is enabled in Cloud Connector. This is the URL that we need to use in the Cloud Connector when accessing. And we can also see here that these has been created. If we go back to this guide here, it also says uncomment these 2 lines. So we can do that. So this is in the manifest here. We need to say we want to also use these elements here. Press save. And now we will just wait until the database creation is done, and it is done now. So we can use the command here, as we have here, cf push once YAML. So this will allow us to deploy this file. So this will create 2 demo apps, the Figaf demo apps and Figaf demo app router. The router is our Node.js application that's running front. This is provisioning or doing all the authentication. And then we have the app, which is the Java application that we also ran on our local systems. What you can then see is when you go back here into the BTP one, we can see we have spaces here. We have the app here running. We can see that the app has been started. And if we open here, we have a number of different ways to look at what's going on. We can check the logs here. So here we can see that the system is running, that it is starting up, and we can see it is actually the same that we saw when using it on-premise. So we can see here it is configuring the database. It has connected to the Postgres database in the Azure data center, whatever it is. So that is all cool, and it will take a few minutes for it to start. But we also need to wait for the other one to start. And we can see it is also started now. And we can see here, it seems sometimes that this Node.js app takes some time to start. We don't know if it is just because we have assigned a few resources to it. We don't really need a big instance, so it can sometimes take a little while for it to run. So let me just pause. So now we can see that it was started here in the app here, and that means we can go here, click at the URL here, we can click at the user here. And then we may see that it starts up. We can see we are redirected to the login page, which will then redirect us and ensure we can log in. License not configured. So we get all of the logon configured. So go to the license page. So the configuration is here. We have all the configuration that is needed here. We have the license, where you just need to go in and insert the license that you got from your on-premise installation or in your email. So now we can see it has been synchronized again. And that is actually all you need to do to get started with the tool. We can see here under users, we can see that I have now been created with the user role as we were able to fetch using this this data. Good. So that was all we needed to do, like half an hour to install in 2 different systems. So let me go the course. So that was Cloud Connector. Right. So the next thing we want to do is want to connect to our integration suite system. And there's a number of different ways to do that. So we have a way to use the S user without universal ID on Cloud Foundry. For integration suite, we also have a better way, and I think that is the way we will be setting up. If you're using Neo, it is also sometimes a little easier, and it is possible to do it in pretty simple way. So let's try that. To do this, you need to create some API keys and you need to create a custom SAML provider. But let's try it and show you how easy it is. Okay. First, we will go to the tool that we are running. This is not the one we are running. An error. Here we have the tool running. So we go to the agents. We have here some different agents. We can create an agent. Here we can create with specific artifacts. So we can create Pro, API management. We don't need that. But we can create CPI here. So let's call it dev CI. And then to do this UL, we will then, the easiest is just to change to your integration suite tenant. Here you in your service marketplace can open the UL for it. We'll just need any of this. It's not really using it, but we just want to make it easy so you're copying it will find that it's using the right thing. Good. Now we have two options. We can use an issue. So if we do not have universal ID, if we have universal ID, the best and the most reliable is to use API keys here. So to do this, there's a manual here, but let me just show you what to do here. First off, we need to create a new API key here. We will create a process runtime, process integration runtime. We will select plan first. We'll need to create API. We will select, and let's call it day1 API. So we have a number of these already, so we'll just create a new one here. The roles it needs to have is administrator, business expert, and integration developer. We'll just say next, and we say create. This will take a few seconds also to create. In the meantime, we will create the other one. So we'll create a new one here. This is called process integration runtime. Here we will select the message flow. We will call it D1 message. Here we just have this one role, but if you have created custom roles that you want to be using for testing, you would then need to add these into here, and we'll create it. Good, so let's take the API one here. Here we will go in and we'll say we'll create a service key for it. Yeah, do, copy. And we can view the credentials of this. So we'll copy the JSON. This is one of the things that makes it a little easier. So we just copy it here, press, and then we pass. Then it extracts all the data that's needed for this. We then need to do the same thing for the message. View credentials, copy JSON, and we will paste it and pass it. And it will do check to see if it's the right one. So now we have these two things. The last thing we need to do is we need to have access to the web APIs. And the only way we have found to do this is the following: to create a custom IDP. That means that Figaf acts as a custom IDP, and that allows itself to authenticate towards the integration suite. It will then log all these requests, and you'll be able to see who have done that. It's all described here, but let me show you what to do. The first thing you want to do is you want to download this file here. It should be a pretty small file, so we get it. We actually don't need to open it, but we'll go back to our BTP account. We will go under trust configuration here. In this, we will create a new trust configuration. We will upload it. So it will do all the things here. We'll call it Figaf. Sure. Just so we have an idea. You want to select this one, otherwise you will get an ability to log on with it, which will not be possible for this. We'll create save here. And then we have created a new one here that's called Figaf Sure. And under this, you will go and create role mapping. you'll need to create new role mapping. So this is a little complicated. You will need to create roles for PI administrator. The attribute here is called groups with an S, and the value is admin. So you just need to do that 3 times. PI administrator, integration developers, and this obviously need to be in the sub account of the integration suite. So you're not doing this under the, so we have integration developer and integration business expert. Good. So now this is installed. The next thing we need to do is we need to go here, back to the configuration here. We need to download the SAML metadata. And this one, it's called here, we need to open it. Maybe we will allow you to just upload this file here, but what we need is this URL here, the second last URL, the one on the HTTP port. And we'll just put it into here. Next. So now we'll check, it will see we have this. For now, let's just create the landscape. You can always delete it later. We can select some packages that we want to use here just to check everything is okay. You can, so for now, you can only select 3 packages. Once you've done that, you press synchronize. This will download these packages, these iFlows, into the Figaf tool in this account, and thereby you have access to them and can then work with them in whatever way you want. So it was pretty quick with these 6 ones. You can also just say, let me just synchronize everything, and then you'll get all the data for this. Okay, what if you have a let me just get the URL here. So if you have a Neo system, we also have access to that one. No, let's see if I have access. So to do that, we do it the same way. Create Neo here, dev Neo. We will add the URL here of it. And then it knows, hey, this is a Neo. You can only use it, log in using the S user. So we will add the S user here and the password. You need to have a old-fashioned password for this to work. And then you can obviously just say save this. For it, the last thing you need to do is you need to get here the so if you obviously need to check that you can log into the integration with the user and password to check if that's okay. Yeah, and then we'll copy this URL here, fill the URL. So now we have done this. We do not save this one. Never save. Next. And here it's, I say this very same thing. We don't want to create a landscape for this. And now we can, so now we have connected to it. If we do check here, we can test if the connection is okay, and we can see both of them connect successfully. Good. Synchronization. CPIHelper is the things that just make your life a lot easier as an integration developer. You probably are already using it. So if you have an iFlow that you have opened, We don't have CPIHelper here. Okay. So to get CPIHelper, search for CPIHelper in Chrome Store or Edge Store, whatever it's called. It is there. So now it's here. We can say if we want some of these enabled, we have the Figaf tool here. Here we will need to enter the URL of the host here. So we'll copy this host name and then put it into here. I think we don't need the last endpoint here, and you will just need to check what that works like. So what you can do now with this is you can go here, you can press synchronize. This will then enable you to actually go directly to Figaf, and if you find out that you have used some wrong URLs, you'll be able to do that, update it. Now we can synchronize, and now we'd actually just synchronize this specific iFlow that we have together with the package. And that means it just becomes a lot easier for us to work with this and navigate back and forth between these scenarios. So if we are done changes to it, we will then be able to see it in the tool when it was changed. So that's just one of the things that makes the life easier. There's a lot of other functions. If you have messages and trace, you can click and create test cases for, but that will be covered in the testing part of the process. Okay. So that was all you needed to do to get the tool run. Next up is we want to connect to the PO systems. You need a technical user and a password. So at least when you try to connect, be sure that you try to connect directly with this user. If you end up with a user that needs to have changed password, you'll just end up with some problems later on. That's why we recommend using a technical user. Obviously, there you need to have access via Cloud Connector. We have some modules to install, but for most cases, it's not really a requirement. And then you need the user to have the following criteria roles. We need APIs to be able to work with this. Depending on the scope, you can also use the guest if you do not want to make modifications. There's also a read-only XI. There's an alert configuration, depending on if you need that. And then NetWeaver read-only. Good. We do have dual stack. We'll not cover it here, and I think we do have some limits in BTP using the cloud connector to do that. It will be possible if there's a lot of requests on that, but otherwise you need to have Figaf running on your local installations to access it. So the thing is, to record messages on the ABAP system, we need to use the cloud RFC, and for now we have not had a requirement to use this, but it should be doable. And then, yeah, you have the same kind of synchronization. Okay, so let's try that. Go back here to the Figaf tool. We have the tool running here. We will create a new agent. So right now we have it in, we'll call the system number here. It's Pro74, highly user. It is HTTP. I guess if you're using Cloud Connector, it will always be HTTP. Here in the URL, we will need to use the destination that we have, not in this sub account, but here in the Figaf Azure sub account. Here we do have the Cloud Connector URL. If it turns out to have some problems, you can try to use the destination and check if it is working. So we'll go back here to the Figaf tool, we'll enter the host. Hopefully it's not a virtual, that's okay. The port here, we don't need to do that. So normally it will be +4. If you're on premise, it would have access to it. We will try to configure these, so this should all be okay. We'll press save here. If you get an error that it's not able to connect, one of the things you can do is uncheck this button, and then it may be able to save it. You will also see that it tries to fill in this value. Here we can see the default configurations for the logging, etc. You can also copy this manually if you do not have the NetWeaver administrator role. This is just so we know what normal logging you have and what specific logging you have. Good. So now we have connected. Here we need to test the configuration. It is okay. So if we needed to do DevOps, we needed these libraries, but that's not really a problem. To check if we have everything, we will just go here to the integration objects. Here we can select this new agent, PI75. We can press synchronize. Here in the synchronization, we will have a way to will first download all the artifacts that we have. If you select it from the testing tool, it will only select the directory objects and not the repository objects. So this obviously can take a bit of time on your system. One thing you can actually do here also is in BTP, the sub account here, you can follow along in what the tool is doing. So we can see here that the app, and here we can see here memory usage. It's using 200% CPU. Probably not ideal for the long run. We can see memory consumptions. If we want to know more about what the tool is doing, Figaf tool here we have, there is a URL. Let me just find it. It is called instance monitoring. Here we can go in and we can actually monitor a lot about what it is actually doing. We can see are there any slow things that is going on, and obviously there will be this for these scenarios. We can query, see what are the things that is taking long time with this request. We can see if it's calling backend systems. There's an option here on errors where you can see if there is any specific errors that we need to count on. You can go in here to the message dump and see garbage collection, CPU usage. So it collects a lot of data that can be useful for troubleshooting, understanding what's going on. So let's see if it's done. So it finished in 30 seconds, 60 seconds. So that's not really that big of a pressure. We don't need ESR transport here. If we want to synchronize all the directory content, we'll go here. A repository content. Here we can see we have some more options. We can skip data types. Data types is not really used in a lot of scenarios. And they are normally a big part, and in most cases would be the part that will take most of the usage of your system. So if we now go back into our monitoring, we should be able to see a lot of current processes that is being processed, because it is doing all of this synchronization, which is first it needs to download this and it needs to link it, and then it needs to figure out if everything is okay. So that can take a bit of time to process. So let's see, and we can follow along how well it is doing these things. So it did not find any new directory, which is good. So now it's done, and that means we have full access to our integrations. It means that we can also, start using the tool both for PI to CPI migration and for DevOps, either on PI or on integration suite. There's obviously, I hope you got a good idea about how this works, what you can actually do, what's important. I think one thing I just wanted to mention was in the navigation here. So There's a few things just to know when you're navigating the tool. We obviously have chosen this, the agent, the different agents that we have and what they mean. We have talked about synchronization. This is what you need to do when you want to create a local copy of these objects, or new version. So it will create a snapshot each time you do this. You can see who made which changes and objects, etc. And you may sometimes when we have created patches, you may need to select check all metadata, rebuild link forcefully. This would force the tool into reread the object, understand is there something in the metadata and the way we are handling this that has been changed. We have here on the tracked objects page, this is what shows you what are the different objects that you have. You can easily click on a line here and do searching for specific objects. Once you open an object, and especially if it's a CPI object, you would have an option here to click on it, and that would open it in CPI. You can see where it is used, what are the parents of this, and what are the children of it. And this just makes the operations a lot easier. We have the testing tool, and we'll go more into details in the testing video. But this is about you have a test case, or you have a test suite. In that test suite, you can add multiple different test cases. These test cases can be assigned to different agents, and this is a way to handle this setup. I hope you liked it. Now, depending on what are the different, let's see, yeah, last thing here, the key elements here at the end of each line, we have some different scenarios. We have this. This would allow you to open the object and go into more details on it. We have this empty space in the beginning of the line. This allows you to edit this line. And then we have this burger icon that we call it, that gives you a menu of different things that you can do with these scenarios. Good. So that was one I wanted to cover. Now you can go into the PI to CPI migration, or you can go into the Figaf or DevOps for Integration Suite and understand how you can run integration or DevOps for your integrations. Thanks for watching.